Subscribe to the channel, or it will come to you.
What made you laugh the hardest in your entire life? At a party, someone started a riding lawnmower up, turned the steering wheel to the left, and put it in high gear so it ran around in circles. It was funny at first but got annoying after a while, so we tried to shut it off. The problem is it was moving pretty fast, and we were all too drunk to catch it. Every time one of us would try to grab it and hop on, we would miss, fall over, and get ran over by the lawnmower. It got so funny watching everyone try that we couldn't stop laughing. We eventually started throwing rocks at it, which was even funnier, trying to see drunk people try and aim a rock at a moving object. This went on for a good hour before it ran out of gas. People got run over by it. Minnie died. In the funniest way possible. My friend is from Japan. One time, she was trying to say, I was sitting on the bed, and instead she said, I shut the bed. I knew what she had meant to say, but I started laughing uncontrollably, something that was not helped by her yelling, no no no, upon realizing she had royally ducked up that sentence. My mom had a Japanese co-worker who would always come over and bring us snacks. This one time she brought us these sweet apples, and she was trying to suggest we eat them with penis butter. Kyoko, you mean peanut butter? Yes, penis butter. I had to leave the room. My 12-year-old self did not have the maturity to handle her accent. But neither did my 45-year-old dad. It was in summer this year actually. There was a middle-aged couple walking in front of me with ice creams. The guy obviously didn't see the step ledge on the floor coming up and tripped over it. As he tripped over, his flailing arm shoved the ice cream right onto an oncoming child's forehead. The ice cream cone stayed in place for a couple of seconds before it slid off. The kid looked like a ducking unicorn. I was literally crying with laughter and it was so hard to compose myself. You had to be there, but OMG, the funniest scene of events ever. During the peak of those What in Tarnation memes, my college buddies and I road tripped from Michigan to NO for Mardi Gras during our spring break. About 10 hours in, when we were already feeling really goofy / bored from the long trip, a tire rolled across the highway in front of the car. My friend, while the tire is still crossing our path, screams, "What in tarnation?" And that stupid ass joke is the hardest I've ever laughed. This is ducking hilarious, laughing my ass off. Back in the mid-90s, when I was a 15-something teenager, my cousins and I had the house to ourselves, so one decides to put a porno in the VCR. I warned him that my dad was coming home soon, and that he might want to think twice, but he didn't heed my warning. We kept watching the front door so we'd be ready to eject the tape and not get caught. Lo and behold, my dad just happened to come through the side door in the garage that day, and was suddenly standing there behind us. Myself and one of my cousins bolted out of the room when we noticed him. The third cousin wasn't so lucky. He noticed us running off and, with my dad right behind him, shouted after us, "Hey, where you guys going? Don't ya want to jerk your penis?" At that point I lost all feelings in my legs as I fell to the floor in laughter. I could still see my cousin through the hallway as he was slowly turning around and noticing my dad behind him, at which point he jumped back around, frantically trying to figure out how to turn off the VCR, but to no avail. It was one of those really old VCRs where stop and eject weren't on the front of the unit. He finally just dropped to his knees and tried hugging the TV to block the picture, crying that he was sorry. I turned so red from laughter that it felt like I was running a fever. I had difficulty breathing for the rest of the day and my ribs felt like they'd been shattered. My poor cousin though, he not only got caught watching porn in hilarious fashion, but he also got teased for years about whether or not he was serious about his proposal to jerk our penis in the same room together. Standing on the sidewalk next to one of those metal electrical boxes. My little sister is standing between me and the box, facing me. She shouts, "Tag, you're it," and spins around to run away at a full sprint. She slams into the box just like Wile E. Coyote running into a wall. I have never laughed so hard in my life. The people passing by afterward just saw a 6-year-old crying next to an adult laughing her grass off uncontrollably on the ground. Eventually I composed myself and picked her up and told her she'll be alright. I felt so bad, but damn if I wasn't suppressing giggles the whole way home. I have a Ukrainian co-worker who was several decades older than me and is a super serious, pretty strange guy. He has a very stereotypical old school Soviet style to him. He always speaks and identifies as Russian. He heard my friend and I telling trivial amusing stories to each other on a break and joined our little circle with the biggest smile on his face. Looking to join in and relate, he explains that when he was in university he had a car, but his friends destroyed his car by literally bludgeoning it to pieces, and then beat him viciously as a prank. You know, as friends do. Then he could barely get through the next part of the story. He was laughing so hard when he explained that from then on he had to run to and from university. He said he ran so often with his bag that he ended up separating his abdominal muscles and severely injuring himself. By this point my friend and I are dying from laughter too, so our comrade feels great about his smash hit of a story and heads back to his desk. I still won't go in a room alone with that guy. I came across this guy on Xbox Live with the name Bilbo T. Baggins. I don't know why, my brother and I were crying laughing. This school near my house had closed down, so me and my 4 brothers went there pretty frequently one summer and essentially made it our personal playground. One day, we were there playing basketball, riding our skateboards and whatnot when a cop drives past the school and sees us messing around in there. Obviously we weren't supposed to be there, and we got spooked, so we bailed and went to hop the fence and run home. All my brothers can manage the fence well, and we're throwing our bikes over and trying to get the hell out of there before the cop turns the corner. He probably would have just told us to go home. But we were young and worried. As I turned to grab one of the bikes, I look over at my youngest brother, who was probably around 6 or 7 at the time, got himself caught on the fence as he was coming down. He managed to give himself the most ultimate wedgie I've ever seen. He wasn't holding himself up on anything, but he was suspended up in the air hanging by his underwear. All of us just stopped trying to rush home and started howling with laughter to the point where we could hardly help my screaming brother down from his wedgie. I still remember seeing his ass cheeks hanging out from his wedgie as he was crying, begging for help. Probably my favorite childhood memory. The first time I ever got high, I had to beg my friend to stop imitating people we know / making edgy jokes, or else I was definitely going to puke from the sheer hilarity. It was the only time I ever laughed to that level. You never have the urge to laugh in your life again as intense as the first time you get high as duck. I nearly lost my mind laughing at my buddy's bachelor party, late at night, sitting at a table after much drinking. One of his friends, who is a lawyer, shared a theory that he'd heard. All foods can be categorized into 4 groups: sandwich, salad, soup, or ravioli. In other words, by this definition, a taco would be a sandwich, carb used to hold ingredients, open edges, whereas a calzone or a Pop-Tart would be classified as a ravioli. This is obviously a ridiculous position, but most of us were used to this guy's nonsense. However, one of the other guys at the table is from New York and took issue with this. He had never met the lawyer before this weekend. Things started getting heated. The more upset at these categories the guy from New York became, the more the lawyer doubled down and gave increasingly preposterous explanations and logic. What about spaghetti yuduka? Clearly a salad, it's tossed ingredients with a dressing. Meanwhile the rest of us were starting to lose it at how upset the New Yorker was getting. It culminated in the guy from New York standing up out of his chair, slamming his hands against the table and passionately screaming, "Pizza's not a ducking sandwich, goddammit!" While the rest of us were crying laughing. Good times. Told the story before, but it's still one of my favorites. Small child, maybe 4 years old, is running with 2 2-liter bottles of soda. Maybe it was root beer. Lots of bouncing already. Then she trips, bottles go flying and she face plants. She lifts her head up to cry, and just then, at that perfectly timed moment, the cap blows off one of the bottles into her face, spraying her with soda and foam. Her mother runs over, still pushing the shopping cart for some reason, and naturally, slips on the other soda and trying to catch herself grabs the side of the shopping cart. She and cart tip over. A bag of flour explodes and covers the sticky child. All of this was done with the precision of a 1940s comedy show. It was really impressive. And sadly, I did not get to film it. Like 9 or 10 years ago, I was at a stoplight with my friend after gorging ourselves nearly to death at a CC's Pizza. We were in a lane to turn left, and a few cars up going straight were stopped as well. Suddenly, the back window rolls down and there's like 13-year-old kid sticks his head out the window, looks into the driver's mirror, and starts professionally sucking the biggest imaginary penis you've ever seen. Like he was going to Ducking Town. Me and my friend are in tears, hyperventilating, we're laughing so hard. He stops abruptly, turns and looks straight at us, still laughing hysterically, and gives us this look like, who the hell are you to laugh at me, for like 20 seconds. And then goes back to sucking that imaginary penis. This went on for maybe a minute and a half, and we were crying the whole 30 minutes drive home. I still judge funny things on a scale of 1 to kid sucking imaginary penis at a stoplight. My ex and I were walking into Target, and she burped and farted at the same time, and then she sarcastically screamed, "If you can't handle me at my worst, you don't deserve me at my best." Hardest I've ever laughed. My ex.